Buddy, it is freezing in Johannesburg and Pretoria today. I'm at home, and not by choice. I looked at my alarm and I thought, oh, I can still sleep 5 minutes. And then when I woke up, it was like 22, and I thought I'm not going to make it on time. But Ben and Simphiwe, ever diligent as they are in the studio. Morning, guys.
How's this?
Morning.
Yeah, we're just working on a
At least
volume
you got
thing
a
right now.
oh, you got a volume problem, but otherwise everything looks like it's working properly. Thank you, James and Flex. Happy Friday.
It
It's a
will
cold
be.
Friday.
I mean, it will be at some stage today. It'll be a happy Friday. Sure as you know when winter becomes vindictive. Like you park your car and the wind follows you like an uncle. It follows you and goes, "I'm getting you, gonna get you." It really,
Like an
that's how I
uncle.
felt when I got out of my car this morning.
Yes, it's cold.
But you were in Cape Town on Wednesday, and I believe you had great weather there, right? I mean, it's
Yeah,
lovely.
cheapest guys.
Oh,
So
yes.
I've got to tell you about my little trip to Cape Town very quickly. I got on the plane
Oh,
and I was pretty tired, and I knew the weather was going to be shitty on the way there.
Okay.
So there's something weird when I get into an aeroplane. I always feel the need to sleep. I don't know if it's because the air becomes different or it's the rigmarole of finally finding your seat. So I thought I'd have a little pre-flight nap.
Okay.
And then I woke up again and the plane's still there. Like it hasn't left the tarmac. So I look at the time and I've had a proper half-hour nap. And then I hear the captain saying, ladies and gentlemen, we've had a report of human trafficking. And so basically there was a girl on the plane and she alerted the air flight passenger crew that she's not there by her own choice. So then
ooh,
this
Ben.
and then this captain, to his credit, he's normally saying cuck like, sorry, we got rain or we've
yeah.
got a bit of turbulence. He's trying to unpack a very delicate matter where the cops are now involved. So now the plane's a crime scene.
Man.
So now we see the cops coming on, and then the guy's basically saying that they've been trying to identify a passenger, the scripter that's basically holding her against her will. But then they couldn't find this
Wow.
oak. Then they couldn't find the oaks. Now it's getting a bit sketchy, and everyone's staring at the front of the plane. And the guy's like, "Please, no use of cameras." And then like 3 police officers come onto the plane, and this young girl gets taken off. And then he says, "Not to worry, they've called her parents. Everything's gonna be okay." And it was just like the
But
weird things. I'm
this is what scares the hell out of me, because I've heard about human trafficking, and I've heard stories from a couple of people who seem to know what they're talking about and have had either personal experiences or know someone involved. But that in some way brings it all right home, and that's so terrifying. That gives me like the chills that there's some little girl who's abducted, or she's drugged, or she's I don't know how these creeps work. And then he gets her to the point where she's on the plane. I mean, it's just, you
yeah.
imagine how that could happen in an instant, and that little girl could have disappeared forever, because
So
she'd end up in Cape Town, then she'd end up, I don't know, on a boat or back on another plane before she knew what was going on.
yeah, so like the mind kind of goes, okay, so she had the chance to basically tell people that she's not there.
Mm-hmm.
But she could have said that maybe earlier in the whole process, or maybe this person's threatened this girl. Like, if you say
Yeah.
anything, we know where your
Oh,
family
definitely.
lives, and we will kill your family.
Isn't that the case most of the time? They always threaten you and they say
So
if
then
you
you,
try run or run away or escape. And most of the time, like the law enforcement is in on it. Like you run to them and then they take her and then just take her back to whoever kidnapped her.
see, that's also probably the scariest thing completely. Like when you have an in like that, because some criminals are just always stronger than anyone can ever touch.
Yeah.
But
I
what a
find that
horrible.
that's probably that's got to be. I mean, child abuse and like trafficking in people are right up there for me. Rape
Oh,
and murder are probably the only two that come into the same category. And it scares the hell out of me that we live in a country where this can happen. And
Yeah, me
clearly
too.
it happens. This is the one time they managed to find out in time. But I think with our police, bless them. I know there are a lot of police people who are trying to do their best work, but there are also lots of really cuck ones. And I don't know how many slip through the net, but it's scary. I mean, Ben, you must have thought for a second there, wow, how many of these people on this plane, you don't know their story, right? I
mm-hmm.
always kind of look at people as they come onto the plane, and I try to figure out what those two are married. That guy is a rich businessman. That woman is having her first flight ever. You try to kind of make sense of people's stories, but I've never thought, wow, that little girl or that young woman looks unhappy. Maybe she's a victim of child trafficking, or that's fucking scary.
Absolutely stuck and can't scream for help and can't run away or can't do anything because maybe there's other things that are now keeping her captive. And that must be so scary, yeah. Like, I always think of airports as like happy places. People are going somewhere. They're going to get new business. They're going to go see friends, whatever. But shit, what a horrible way to start. Sorry, guys. I didn't mean to bring it down like this.
I'm so glad they found her, and I'm so glad they found this guy, and let's hope he goes to jail. But I mean, why they didn't let you take pictures? If he's a child sex trafficker or something, or some kind of abductor of girls, I reckon, this is one of the things that the internet is useful. We should be able to put his picture out far and wide.
He wasn't.
Should know what this guy looks like.
So he wasn't on the plane.
Oh, wow.
That's even scarier.
Yeah, that was the weird thing that the captain was trying to sort of unpack. It's like they were looking for someone because she obviously described this guy who was forcing her to be on this flight, but he actually wasn't on there apparently because everyone was looking up thinking, okay, so what if he's sitting next to her and they both get up, and then we should all
Wow.
Yeah, there were a couple of holes in the story, and eventually we took off and
Had a great time in Cape Town.
it was hard work. Yeah, it was basically flooding in Cape Town. That place.
And you were down there for the Box and for Clipdrift, who are renewing their sponsorship of the Box. And I saw you there with Kate Nokwe. Tell us about her.
Yeah, I've known Kate for quite some time. She's very good at what she does. She works in the sports industry, much like me. And I've wanted to go to these kind of events and not have to try and present and actually be on camera. Okay. And she's like the perfect person to go to events with because she knows people. She's so much fun, and this event was so cool. But it was raining to the point where it was flooding outside. When people got out of their Ubers, they had to take their shoes off because the water was just. It was pretty rough. Yeah, we had a lot of fun. Literally got on the plane got to the airport at 6. So the flight was meant to leave at 6.
Okay.
And then
6 a.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Full day of trying to get content, interview people. Managed to professionally put through $3 brandy and cokes because while we're there.
Okay.
But it was nice. So there was a roaring fire, nice people, and eventually got home at 9:30 at night. It was a long day.
Yeah.
So yeah,
well, that is a lot, and that red eye flight you have to wake up for at 4. So
yeah,
it's not messing around.
Yeah, guys, I'm excited for this weekend. Hey, tonight's going to be a big sleep. I need it.
I see you wearing your Bok jersey from Old School, which is a good start to the weekend. So who are we actually playing and what are we doing? Because I don't know any of this stuff,
Yeah, Gareth. So it's the first Bok game of the week. Of the season.
The ones that cost 3 million.
Well,
what?
In terms of tickets, they're so expensive. They're 3 million. They're a couple. Is it those ones?
I wouldn't say they're expensive. I'd say they're competitively priced with the market entertainment prospect that you get from it. We're playing Barbarians, so it's not actually a test match.
Okay.
So it's like an invitational game.
Okay.
Because Rassie wanted more fixtures to kind of try more players and get the squad really firing. So come rugby championship time, it's a well-grooved unit. So the Barbarians, they've been around since 1890. It's probably the most famous rugby club in the world. But they've never played in South Africa. They always generally play in England, and it's normally an end-of-season tour kind of game that they have. Mm-hmm. So they've assembled. They've gone to Cape Town thinking they're going to have a lekker week, nice little piss-up. No, it's raining. The weather's cuck. They're about to play a very fired-up Springbok team, and that's this weekend in Cape Town. Next week at Loftus, that's when it's the first test match of the season.
Okay, those are the ones that are expensive.
And Loftus... Simphiwe, Loftus will not let you down because there's always very little rain in Pretoria in June, July, and August. So you should be safe.
Okay.
Guys, it's absolutely perfect. So, yeah, we kind of had this whole breakdown. So on the Bounce Show this week, we had Robbie Cruz. Now, my friend Robbie Cruz is the guy who actually announces the teams on the stadium, like stadium microphone.
That's so dope.
So like when the Springboks are about to come out, he runs through the whole team, and then he is the MC for the game. So yeah, we had the most awesome time chatting about all of this. So yeah, please go watch that show if you want to know anything about the Boks. We go through all the fixtures, the whole season, what's to be excited about, and you'll see the event in the rain.
Okay,
Giving
so we
you-
got a
giving you so
couple of
much.
we got a couple of things to get to this morning, and we will do some sport a little later on. So anybody who's got a hunger for that, Ben is in studio and he's
Good
able
weekend
to
for it.
help us with all the sport. Yeah, it's gonna be a busy weekend, but I do want to get on to some other things quickly. First of all, a lot of people are very worried that Diddy is going to get off scot-free in his trial, but that's obviously not the case. You know, we're talking about like child sex traffickers and sex trafficking in general. So apparently what they've done is they've dropped a couple of the charges of racketeering and so on, because they actually want to focus in, as I understand it, the prosecutors. I mean, I don't follow the Diddy trial like most people are. I'm not that interested. I'm horrified at the way this guy's behaved. I think he's an obviously reprehensible human being, and clearly there's so much that goes into the music business here that has to do with just these total perverts who live in Hollywood in the music industry. But they're trying to get rid of some of the more complex cases because, you know, Americans use a jury system, and a jury means you've got ordinary people there, and ordinary people are very stupid and can only follow one line of thinking. So they're trying to just sort of get them to focus on the most important charges. So that would be the sex trafficking, the abuse, and the money laundering. They're not going to try and get him into 500 different charges, which you could probably charge Diddy with. So they've dropped a couple of those charges. It makes people nervous that he's going to get away with it. He's apparently not going to. But his defense team presented text messages to court to support their claim that his relationships were loving and consensual. Those are the words they used. Loving and consensual. Now, for anyone who watched that video of Cassie Ventura being dragged by her hair down the corridor of a hotel and kicked and hit, if that's loving and consensual, P. Diddy must maybe reevaluate his use of the dictionary, because that's not what I would call it. The messages ranged from affectionate to sexually explicit, with one from 2017 showing Ventura calling Combs her best friend and expressing deep love for him. I'm sure if you'd asked that little girl on the plane, Ben, while the guy who abducted her or who kidnapped her, who was going to traffic her or whatever, while he's in the room, she would have said whatever he wanted her to say, because she would have been terrified, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think Cassie Ventura would call Combs her best friend or express deep love for him now. She may have once loved him, but I think those things change and nothing is forever. Prosecutors begin their closing argument on Thursday, so it's wrapping up very quickly. I mean, as trials go, this is not taking as long as some. And the defense will start their closing argument today. So that's going to be exciting to watch for people who are into it. And then, amazing news from Argentina. Their annual GDP growth now stands at 5.8%, which is the highest in the Western world, higher than China. So very good. And this is all because Javier Milei is the smartest man in economic policy worldwide. And he is an anti-communist, capitalist, free marketeer through and through. If you want to know how to make your country happy and successful and bring more people out of poverty than any other way, you have to have the free market. That is what capitalism does. Here he is demonstrating it again. This is going to irritate communists for the next 200 years, because it's a perfect example of a guy who just had the right principles from the beginning, has implemented them, and his country is winning. Winning. Something we haven't felt in South Africa for a long time. Take a look at this quickly, just to show you how little winning we're used to. I found a graph yesterday of the highest salary earners in South Africa. Okay, so these are the CEOs who earn the big bucks. Before you put that up, James, all of these people who earn the biggest salaries in the country, because remember, most clever private sector CEOs won't pay themselves big salaries. They'll rather take dividends when the company does well. or they have share options, or they have shares, or they pay themselves bonuses if the company does well. But it's all based on performance, right? That makes sense, doesn't it?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, because if the company does well and you're the boss, then you probably deserve a pay increase because you've
Absolutely.
managed the company. It's like Javier Milei, if he paid himself as president right now, a little 5.8% extra, that would be in line with the growth that he's stimulated in the country, which was in the toilet economically. So it might not sound like a lot, but Argentina had runaway inflation and they had major problems. So he fixed that. So, as the CEO of Argentina, he could probably pay himself more. But the difference is he's in government, and that doesn't work in government. All of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 highest paid CEOs, salary CEOs in South Africa, all of them are in
Government.
Mining.
the, the public sector. None of them are in the private sector. Take a look at this quickly. Here we go. 15 South African state-owned companies whose chief executive officers earn 6 million rand a year or more. Okay, so
What are stars
start at
doing
the
there?
bottom. Just hang on. We'll start at the bottom. So this is the one who pays himself the least. There are two of them, actually. The National Roads Agency, that's SANRAL, who we all love to pieces, right? Those are the ones who tried to implement the e-tolls and failed spectacularly. And South African Airways, which I didn't know is still a thing and apparently is still a thing. So whoever's running SAA, who have no planes that I can tell, by the way, I don't know that there are any SAA branded planes at the moment. They still claim to be an airline. There's still flights every now and then. It seems to be fairly random. But there's a CEO who pays themselves 6 million rand. That's for South African Airways and for the Roads Agency. Then there's the Airports Company of South Africa, which is supposed to keep our airports running nicely. They deal with everything from when you park your car at the airport, which always is the most expensive parking you'll get anywhere, right to when you get on the plane. That is everything in between is the Airports Company South Africa, and they run all of our major airports in this country. So they pay themselves, whoever this person is, 6.13 million rand a year. Now, just think about how much that is, right? Let's take the lowest ones here. So 6 million rand a year, because I know Simphiwe, Ben, and I talk often about how much some people earn. But let's just look at 6 million rand a year. Divide that by 12. That's 500,000 rand a month. Okay, so even if they're paying tax on half of that, let's imagine that they taxed at 50%, which is not possible on the books, but let's just say it is. Let's say that they are honest, good people who don't try to cheat the system. And let's take half. Let's say the government takes half of that back. Okay, they still earn 500,000 rand a month. 250,000 is what they will pay after tax themselves. 250,000 rand a month. Can you imagine what you would do with that?
Yes.
Wow.
That is outrageous in a country that is struggling like this for a public sector company. But wait, it gets better because there are even worse ones here. I'm going to skip through these quite quickly. The air traffic and navigation services, we've got to make sure that person's paid properly, but to the tune of 6.14 million, I don't know. Central Energy Fund. Okay, we don't have any energy. This person pays themselves 6.15 million rand. Then the Trans-Caledon Tunnel Authority, the CEO
What
of
is
the
that now?
That sounds like some bullshit. That is in the Water and Sanitation Department, apparently.
Even.
6.67 million rand that person gets. One person earns that. Then we've got the Government Employees Pension Fund. The CEO of that pays themselves a whopping 6.79 million.
That's
And so
someone's
it goes
entire
up.
pension.
Simphiwe, that is more than some people will ever hope to earn in their entire lives, let alone in 1 year. We've got Road Traffic Management Corporation, Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, the Road Accident Fund. Remember, this is a totally mismanaged part of the parastatal government structure. The Road Accident Fund is one of the most corrupt, stupid, badly run, delinquent and useless parts of our government. And Collins Letswalo, who I think still is the CEO there, pays himself an outrageous 7.07 million rand a year. Then we've got Eskom. Now you could argue that Eskom is turning around, they're doing their best, but to the tune of 7.11 million rand, I don't know whether that CEO is, or that anyone in South Africa is worth 7.7 million rand or 7.1 million rand in salary. Remember, this is salary. You know, if you're going to give a bonus, cool, if they get things right, but that's not how government works. It's got nothing to do with performance. All of the people on this list could fail spectacularly every day and they'd still get that money. And some of them are failing spectacularly. Like, let's look at the next one up, PRASA, the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa. Our passenger train system in this country is a disgrace. And that person is paid 7.8 million rand a year. SARS, we have to pay Edward Kisvetter, the man who steals from us in the name of the government, to pay for all of the things that we never get any value from. This country is a bottomless pit for hardworking South Africans. We know who those South Africans are. We know that only a small percentage of South Africans are paying all the tax, but we're talking about everybody when we talk about VAT and everything else. This guy at SARS, who's supposed to be making it easier for us to earn money and to pay government less, is paying himself 8.2 million rand. And then Transnet, 8.5 million rand. And just before you think that's the worst it can get, the total remuneration that the Development Bank of South Africa has paid its CEO in the last year is 15.50 million rand. The Development Bank of South Africa. I'm going to look up who this is. Don't you want to know? Well, it's a woman, and her name is Boitumelo Musako. All right?
Damn.
She was appointed on April 1st, 2023. Before that, she was the chief financial officer, and she is being paid 15 million rand a year.
So I would like to compare her remuneration to like private equity firms, big finance sort of capital companies who raise a lot of money, and they do this in a very, I don't know, like competitive sense, because they're a development bank, right? So they've got to have funds to help develop.
Yeah, I think.
So you would think that maybe don't take too much because you're.
Nah, I think the only one that I'm not mad at is the bank. Considering if you had to look at how much CEOs and banks actually earn,
But it's
right up there.
It's a development bank though, so you're helping with develop. It's a different sort of.
Could be.
It's a different sort of focus, I think, as far as how money's raised and earned.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, a bank is a bank. They're there to make money. Like you know what I'm saying? Even though the whole, like, the name of it is to help people and whatnot, every business goes into, a person goes into business to make money. And so I'm just saying, because it's still called a bank needs to make money. I think that's the least I'm upset about.
Okay, so do you see the other bank CEOs up there? The banks who are much richer,
No.
greater.
So
No.
I mean, they may pay themselves more.
Oh, state-owned
private
companies.
banks,
Yeah.
But again, they'd
Okay,
need the
sorry.
shareholders to agree. They'd need board resolutions. And remember, they're run by private investors in large part. So those people have to say, you know what, this guy or this girl's done such an excellent job that we're willing to give them a lump sum of, it could be 50 million rand. It's none of our business because it's not our money. This is our money. This is our money. Right?
Yeah.
All of these people that I've just read out to you, all of them are on our payroll as citizens and taxpayers in South Africa. So I think if that's not the kind of job, maybe Boitumelo is really, really talented, then she can go work for a private bank and she could probably earn more than that. But she's chosen to work for this bank. And I mean, just adding up all the people on that list, you come to a substantial salary bill that we're paying the CEOs of these mostly defunct and failed parastatals. I mean, we're close to, just on this list, we're over 100 million, okay? 100 million every single year to all of these people. out of our pockets into theirs. Her salary at the top there earns her over 1.2 million rand a month. A month. Okay, so I thought you needed to see that because we often talk about money here. We all like, oh, what would I do if I had an extra 5,000 rand? Well, that's not a problem for these guys. While we're talking about money, Simphiwe has found out what the most expensive apartment ever sold in South Africa is. Do you want to tell us?
Yeah, hey. Like South Africa's a movie. Like you have CEOs.
It really is.
Earning like 15 million, annually. And then you have an apartment that was recently sold for 145 million rand. Okay. This is like the most expensive apartment ever sold now. And you guys can guess where it's based. I think it's pretty obvious. But it's an apartment in Clifton. On Clifton First Beach. And this is now the most expensive apartment. It's a 5-bedroom apartment. It has like all the latest finishes. And like the previous apartment I think was sold for 120 million. So now this one has topped it. And it's up there, with the price of living in Clinton.
Yeah, so obviously top floor. I would like to know if this person has to put up with neighbors. How many people below them, and is the people below them seen as a negative? Or was that part of the price? It's like I'm better than all of these people. I reign above them.
Those are good questions. Because I was just stuck on the price.
Well,
I was like, an apartment.
I've seen like apartments in New York that cost 50 million US dollars, for example, which is way more than this. And what they have that makes them so expensive is a view, first of all, an address that everybody wants, second of all. There's certain streets and certain neighborhoods and certain places in New York you want to be that cost more just because they're in that place. They're not necessarily bigger or better or anything else. And then they have things like private lifts. So if it's a, 20 to 100-story building, you might have your own lift. In other words, that lift on the ground floor is just for you and your family. And you have your own doorman who meets you in the hat and everything. I mean, this is New York, so they really do things properly. Well, except electing mayors, but we can get onto that later. And I'm sure that this place must be luxury in every sense. I mean, I don't know if you've ever watched any of these shows where these people try to sell. We've talked about it before on the show. The kind of like dressed up hookers, and then they try to sell these very fancy and expensive places.
Oh yeah, like selling sunsets or
remember
whatever.
we talked about that.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So we've seen some of these places selling sunsets. Thank you, Ben. And these places are extraordinary. I mean, I just don't know if you're going to spend over 100 million on a property in South Africa. Why would you choose an apartment? Wouldn't you want? I mean, for 100 million, this is 145 or something, according to Simphiwe and some change. You could have the most magnificent house in the world. You could have land, you could have trees, you could have space, you could pretty much do anything you want in South Africa for 145 million rand. There is no limit. You could have something in the bush, you could have something in the mountains, you could have something on the beach. But because it's in Clifton, clearly that's part of the reason. And second of all, it's an apartment, which to me seems a bit steep for 145. You're only going to have that much space. I don't know. I mean, it's insane. Do we have
bedrooms.
This place?
5 bedrooms. I think they're trying to lean on the word apartment for effect. 5 bedrooms is 5 bedrooms. An apartment's 2 bedrooms, guys. Let's be honest. After that, it's basically a house with friend walls.
I don't know. I think like, if you have that kind of cash, just buy a house. I mean, houses are going for like 30, 40 mil if you're already in that range.
What if you really love the ocean and Clifton? Because
I'm pretty sure you could get like a
house. No.
a beautiful beach house that looks into.
No, you can't. No, they've cut into that the cliff of Clifton.
Okay.
There is no space.
Okay.
There's just
So
nothing.
it's done for. So this is the best you can do now.
I mean, like you can't suddenly go just go have a beach house. I'm sure you can get one with fish hook. It's like a very different thing.
Yeah,
It's like
and really there are some unbelievably beautiful views from Clifton.
Okay.
I've got friends there, and I've seen some of these places from the inside, and I'll tell you what, it's just unbelievable what's in there once you see it on the outside and you think, oh well, that doesn't look very spectacular, but it goes down like 7 floors. Yeah, so
Okay.
it's incredible. So well done to whoever bought this. Listen, I suppose we shouldn't complain, just because we're all jealous, which is probably the truth.
Yes.
If someone is putting that kind of money into property in South Africa, that is a show of faith in the country that most of us probably wouldn't make. I mean, that's sinking a large amount of money into Cape Town real estate, which is probably just like a luxury purchase for them. They're not looking to make money out of it. They're not going to rent it out. It's for their use. So
can you imagine
you're
how much
sinking money
cocaine's going to be done in that place? That's another thing, guys, and that's another thing we shouldn't be so. We've got to be more sensitive about. Like people do drugs,
Yeah.
and to be able to do drugs in 145 million rand apartment,
Hey, why
best.
not?
I'm sure it's the best, absolute
All right,
best.
but Ben, what's the best place to live? Because a lot of hysterical and not very well informed people have been screaming about World War III for the last couple of weeks. Is Cape Town a good place to live if there's a nuclear war? And I hate to make all the nervous people even more nervous, because it isn't going to happen. And thank God, there were some things done in the last week and a half that have seen to it that Iran, a lunatic regime, won't have nuclear weapons. That's good news for everybody. I don't care what anyone says. It's good news that Iran doesn't have nuclear weapons.
Sure.
If you think otherwise, you should also not have nuclear weapons, if you ask me. But if there were nuclear weapons, apparently Ben knows where you can go that is apparently the safest place to live, should there be a nuclear fallout, nuclear winter.
Yeah, there is, guys. If you think of like far away, okay, so the Middle East, you know where that is, Northern Hemisphere, it's very clustered around there. What's very far away from there? Yes, we are very far away from here. The $145 million rand apartment for the cocaine's far away. But the best place, because of how sustainable it is New Zealand and Australia. Because they,
sense.
like food production and that kind of stuff's good. Our food production is no longer seen as stable, unfortunately. So, I mean, I still think if you live in the Southern Hemisphere and the tips like we do, we're still good when it comes to apocalyptic things happening. But if you really, really super want to be safe, then yeah, like good, farm areas in New Zealand where you can have the sheep running and the bulls and stuff. That's if you're really, really concerned, go stake your claim there. Because there's also the population density, so there's space. You've got some kind of working infrastructure. The weather's going to be shite and the people are going to be unattractive. But New Zealand's got
Idiocy.
stuff. New Zealand's going to be a
Idiocy
safe
unattractive.
haven.
Okay. I think it
Oh,
makes
by the way,
sense.
New Zealand's so unattractive. I was thinking about New Zealand last weekend. I changed my profile picture. James, have you got the picture that I put up? So I changed my profile picture just for fun. I do this occasionally because you should be allowed to have fun. And even if you're an adult and you have responsibilities, and it was over a weekend, and I was like, I'm going to change my profile picture to something ridiculous. I've done it before, where I've changed it to like very strange looking people on the internet or whatever. And then you always get messages from people going, is there something wrong with you? Or is there a problem? Do we need to call friends? Do we need to come and
Have you
rescue
been hacked?
you? Yeah.
Have you been hacked? Are we
But
going to see your penis next?
Yeah, so I was like, no, this is just funny. I put this picture up. Show them. Got the
Sick.
profile picture I changed? I can't hear what James is saying.
He said 1 sec.
Oh, okay. Anyway, this one upset a
He's
few
feeding it
people.
into the computer, Gareth. He's got the picture. He's
Oh.
just feeding it in.
He's putting a paper into it like this.
Yeah.
Like,
Feeding it in.
There you
He's
go.
he's pushing it into the screen. It
Xeroxing
keeps
it.
bouncing. It keeps bouncing back. Maybe fold it, James.
He's not saying anything to us now.
Okay, no, he's working very hard in the background. He's got the oil-burning diesel engine going that then Xeroxes the paper that the photograph was printed on at 3:00 this morning, and then he puts it through the machine, and that's how we get to see it. Anyway, we've lost the moment. Don't worry about it. I don't care anymore. Really,
You're so
just fucking-
impatient.
Just pretend I didn't even ask, James. It's fine. It's that chick who did the interview with Meghan Markle. You know, that Jamie
Yes.
Kern Lima or whatever.
Yeah.
Wait,
that-
Meghan Markle did an interview?
Yeah.
No, this is a while ago. Have you got the
Okay.
video?
I thought it was
Oh,
a
God,
new.
I'm
I
scared
thought it
to
was a
ask.
new interview. I was gonna be like, no.
No.
Okay.
no,
Yes.
no.
Yes.
This interview, that interview was so bad that occasionally it still comes up in my feed on Instagram, you know, and like people send me all the parodies. By the way, this one guy did an excellent parody of that interview. I'm not going to ask James just in case he thinks he now has to go and put the video together himself and fly to LA and interview Megan and this Lima chick again. So I'm not going to ask. But that thing has come up so many times, and it is unbelievably bad. Oh, here we are. Oh, look at this.
He's found the parody
I'm
straight
just
away.
doing my best. Everything is blossoming for you right now.
Well, I can appreciate hard work, and I like working hard.
Yeah.
And what I've realized is I don't have to do anything. I just have to be. My team will handle the rest.
I have full body chills right now.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Do you think our lives are divinely ordered?
Wow. That's a beautiful question.
I mean, you've never done a podcast before, and the fact that you're sitting here right now, that's not random. That's something greater. What made you say yes to being on this podcast?
Because it's you. I was telling H the other day over breakfast in Montecito, I feel like I've finally found the secret to success.
Yeah.
It's this one word that I've been slowly trying to weave into my kid's subconscious. The other day, Archie was trying to zip up his jacket, and he was getting so frustrated.
Yeah.
I got down and I looked at him, soul to soul, and I said, "You can't zip it up yet."
Yet. I love that.
The power of yet.
And I bet he felt such fulfillment when he finally zipped it up, right?
The zipper actually turned out to be broken, so he never got it up. But the lesson was there.
I do recall before we started.
Oh my God. I you know, that is exactly what they sound like in real life. Isn't that brilliant?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
whoever
it's
did
almost-
that parody.
It's almost too good.
Awesome.
It's too close to actually be a parody. Especially the
But what is
especially the
with,
host.
What is with that chick's face? There we go. There, I changed my profile picture. to that. Thank you, James.
Yes.
Right? I mean, it's hilarious.
I think
So
that's
you
just
didn't
like
see it,
fake.
Simphiwe,
That's
'cause-
fake. That's just years of fake smiling turns your face into that.
Oh my word.
What is and she's like a makeup like guru apparently. She's got, you know, she's
Very
made
successful
tons
woman,
of money. Yeah, and I mean to look like fucking that. You know, it's like going to the gym and your personal trainer is this enormous orangutan. You're not going in the right direction. If women are looking at her going, yeah, she looks great, I got bad news for you.
Well, let's see the
That's not
before
something to
picture
wish.
before we get too critical.
Yeah, maybe the before picture's even worse. Have you guys seen all these videos of that AI is churning out now of like old people being asked questions, and they come up with these outrageous and rude answers, and they've done it a lot with like UK grannies and grandpas, but it's all artificially generated. There's no real people involved, and they always say really disgusting things.
that's
have you
great.
got one of those for me, James, just so I can give an example and anybody who's watching can get it? Here we go.
Madam, what's your top tip for a long, happy marriage?
Take taxi.
Bend over, shut up, and let him park his bus in your garage every night, love.
What's one thing you'd do if you were 40 years younger?
I'd fucking bend you up like a deck chair and smash your back doors in, love.
Oh my god. What dating advice would you give the younger generation?
Why are they so
if he
short?
doesn't scran your salmon wallet and your arse at the same time, bin him off, love.
Like, why are they so short?
They're old.
I'm sorry.
I've never heard that phrase before, the salmon wallet, but that is fantastic.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
it's fantastic, but it's also very, very rude. That old
Salmon
man who
wallet.
said, "And what would you do if you were 40 years younger?" And he goes, "Well, I'd bend you over like a deck chair and smash your back doors in." Unbelievable. So they're churning out a lot of these lately, and it seems to be. So you can't. We've got to the point now, and we knew this was going to happen. Might even have happened a long while ago, where you can no longer trust the internet. You don't know what's real. You don't know what isn't.
It does
And
look very
you know what?
fake, though.
Yeah, because
It
they
does
were
look
all
kind of
short.
Yeah, I mean it looks fake, but I don't know if you looked at that, because I kind of caught on that it's AI, but some people wouldn't. There are people who still read News 24 and think that they're getting the news. So
Yeah, I guess you're right. There is those
Yeah,
people.
That's true.
yeah,
I watch
I
most
asked,
things, and
go on.
yeah, I mean, I watch most things with a very critical eye, mostly because I'm in the field of making videos and things. So you got to look at compositions of framing anyway.
Yes.
But there's so much out there that is AI, and people just share. It's like, oh, look how incredible this is. But it's obvious, guys. Like, there's a few telltale things. Maybe
Yes.
that's like a feature in future. Is it real or not? And we can tell you why.
Yes. There's a chick who actually does those on TikTok. She's like, "Is this real? Is it AI?" And most of the time, you kind of get like caught in the no, that's real, and she's like, "No, that's
Yeah, you can
completely
see it.
AI," because it's
yeah.
it's that good now. It's like amazingly that good.
Well, I asked ChatGPT the other day to show me what a tokolosh looks like.
Evan,
Yeah. So yeah, do you want to see what a tokolosh would look like if you ask ChatGPT for a tokolosh, and then I'll
Is it a picture?
explain
Is it a picture of
what
Trevor
it comes
Gumby?
up with.
no, you can't say that.
Yeah, pretty much. That does look a bit like Trevor Gumby, actually. Don't you think? Right?
That is a scary
Yeah,
Tokolosh.
it is scary.
Yo.
Yeah, very, very scary. But it seems that ChatGPT knows quite a lot about the tokolosh.
Which is also weird. Like, who's prompting it?
I find it very exciting that we have AI that can now tell us about like old traditional beliefs and cultural symbols that, before if you'd get very rubbish answers out of like Google before, but ChatGPT seems to be more tied into this kind of thing. Also, I saw a headline yesterday that Sam Altman, who's the guy who started ChatGPT, he's the founder, he said he cannot believe that people trust it. He cannot believe that people are stupid enough to trust ChatGPT, which is a hell of a thing for the founder to say. I mean, that's like shooting yourself in the foot. So you kind of have to wonder if he's just doing what I did when I changed my profile picture to that Karen Lima chick, whatever. Maybe he's just having fun, or you think he's messing with us? Because, yeah, we know it hallucinates and things, but he can't believe anyone trusts it at all. That's kind of a big statement for him.
Yeah, it's a very weird general statement because it's so nuanced. There's so many
Yeah.
things you can use it for, and it's so great for a lot of research and saves so much time. If it's going to tell you about like your future, then maybe that's a bit dumb. But there's so much that analytically it will get right.
I think people have just got to be sensible about this. It is an excellent research tool.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
great at researching things. If
Yes.
you want to collate a whole bunch of useful information and make a summary or comprehensively render, like it's kind of like your best English language resource. That's where it's the best thing. If you're trying to compile something in English for an essay, a presentation, or whatever, then that's terrific. I just don't know how teachers are coping with this, and I think it's probably a good idea for us to get a teacher in sometime, because unless the kid is writing the essay right in front of you, and you can watch them the whole time, and they don't have a phone or a laptop with them, I don't know that any people who are upwards of kind of primary school, I don't know how any of them are not using ChatGPT. to do their assignments, their essays, their dissertations. There's no way that they're not using ChatGPT. They found out in some research they did just the other day in the UK that I think every single person they asked had used ChatGPT for those purposes I've just outlined now. Not one had used their brain and books and the internet as and with them being the primary researcher, they'd all run everything through ChatGPT. So it's become ubiquitous, right?
That's such a weird thought because like comprehension is a really important thing for all kinds of learning. And if you can just go home and just type stuff in, your homework goes from like 3 hours to 20 minutes. Who wouldn't do that? Oh, hell yes. Right, like that's what we did as kids. We were always cutting corners, and we always doing less, never more. Even like it's a wow.
Yeah, but then I guess the statement of like you shouldn't trust it comes into play when you're younger and you're using it for everything. Because what you're essentially doing is giving it the power to think, and you no longer doing the critical thinking, which is what they try to instill in school, that you need to be a critical thinker, you need to be able to like divide, long division, multiply, and then from there you can use other tools to assist. And so if the basis from the beginning is you're already using tools to get to your answer,
but like a general problem solving, if you see impatient kids who always act out and are absolute little shits, they don't have the ability to problem solve, but they're little shits. They're like 2, 3, whatever.
Yeah.
We're going to get a whole generation of adults who cannot problem solve, and they won't be able to do things like queue or deal with like the most basic thing, and then they'll act out and they get angry. And then
they'll probably just prompt ChatGPT on how to react in those moments. And I think that's the issue, is that they're going to rely on it for everything. So like, I failed at school. What do I do now? Like how? And then that will, they give it a prompt, and then they'll be like, okay, cool.
It's scary. I'll tell you why it's even scarier than that, because we have such low levels of literacy in South Africa.
Yeah.
Now, even ChatGPT, with all of its incredible capabilities, cannot help you if you can't speak or write English. Most people cannot spell and cannot. They have no comprehension of the language. I mean, you could see how people, if you do have them have to write anything down, you suddenly see like, oh, wow, I thought this person was smart, but they're obviously way, way dumber than I thought they were, because they cannot write at all. So, even something as brilliant as ChatGPT, it has to work with you. You have to put in good prompts. You have to know what you're looking for. You have to have a vocabulary to speak of. You have to be able to construct a sentence properly so that it can figure out and divine from that sentence what you're looking for. And in South Africa, we have very, very low levels of literacy and numeracy. So I don't know that South Africa is going to be a place that even ChatGPT can help, unless we get people to smarten up a bit. And exactly what Ben and Simphiwe were saying is like, these are often kids that they're cognitively very slow. They're not on the level. So the smart kid using ChatGPT is still going to be better than the dumb kid using ChatGPT. Although the best of both worlds is people who can think independently of AI, and people who can think with AI, and then the people who can put it all together. Those are the people who are going to win. And if you know nothing, and you rely on ChatGPT for everything, you've lost the ability to think, you're in big shit going forward, and no one's going to be able to help you.
Yeah, that's true. But
then if you go into like a conspiratory theory kind of rabbit hole, maybe that's what stuff is designed, because we saw in COVID, people want groupthink. They want to be able to corral masses to like one way of thinking so they can control them. So maybe this thing is the absolute final mind virus.
Okay, well, it's 7 o'clock. We've got to take a quick break. When we come back, we will find out about the top 10 airlines for 2025. Ben has some info on that for us. We'll also talk about something that really irritates me and Simphiwe, and probably you as well, and that is electricity and petrol going up. We're not happy about that. And then turning terrible Tinder conversations into songs, which is one of the things the internet is the best at.
That's where AI is good.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That's what we want more of. We'll be back with more of that and a whole lot of other stuff. Don't go anywhere. Good morning. It's Friday.
You can't just move his mic like.
Are you excited for the start of the Springboks season? Ben is, Sandila is, and our special guest this week, television heartthrob and renowned sports MC Robbie Cruz very much is too. Welcome to an extra special episode where we unpack how befuck the box season is ahead and how to plan your life accordingly around the fixtures. The Barbarians, Italy, Georgia, Australia, New Zealand, Argentina, and all the rest up north, they're all queuing up for a crack at the World Champions in 2025. Let's get into how it's all going down right here on episode 54 of the On The Bounce Show.
In normal CPR, you have to find someone who's unconscious, who's basically not responsive. That's the first thing you do. Call for help. The next thing you want to do is check for a pulse. You can feel here on the wrist, on the inside of the wrist. You can feel on the neck here for a carotid pulse. You can feel here on your the groin for a femoral pulse. But the most convenient and easiest one is to feel for a radial pulse here. You can't do it on a bed. You can't do it definitely not seated.
Yeah.
You have to take the person and put them on the floor if they're sitting on a chair. And then on the sternum, on the lower half of the sternum, and that's just here, the lower bit of the rib cage, you can put both hands on, and you need to compress 2 to 5 centimeters deep. You need to do that at 100 to 120 per minute because that is a sufficient rate in order for you to pump. You're basically pumping the heart.
Yes, it's like manually doing this to the heart.
Manually doing that to the heart.
I just want to say at the beginning of this part of the show that I think Google Chrome is the crappiest of all the search engines.
It's always Safari.
I use Safari or Firefox. They're much better at everything. Google Chrome this morning, one of the reasons we started late was because it kept asking me for permissions on things, and
it does
I had
do
to
that.
change settings. It's so fucking irritating. Like, all the others just seem to have their shit together. Like, come on, Google. They have brought out something called CLI, which is apparently a phenomenon for work. Like, if you have a lot of busy work, documents, presentations, paperwork to do, apparently the CLI is going to change everything. It was only launched, I think, a week ago, and people are raving about it. So that's worth something, if you want to check out something new and you do a lot of that kind of work, you may want to check that out. But otherwise, Google seem to be kind of slipping a little bit, if you ask me.
Yeah, they've gotten comfortable.
I always hate the permissions thing. It's like it doesn't trust you. It's like you've been you for the last 20 years with these people, and they're still like, "Is this you?"
Yeah,
you have to log back in there. So-called
exactly.
Ben.
I've had this laptop for like
security.
5 years or more. In fact, I've probably had it for 8 years. I'm like, come on, Google. It's me. I don't need permissions. I am the permission. Shut up and do what you're there to do. Anyway, to start off our morning, here's a bit of show and tell. I haven't found anything really, really, truly exciting to add to my collection of shit that I've got all around my house. But this is cool. I found a rock when I was in Mpumalanga a while ago. Remember when I took that weekend away and went with family? And I found this rock. This thing is almost perfectly pyramidal. Look at this. Here.
Wow.
You see that?
Okay.
It's like a pyramid-shaped rock.
It's like a really old piece of Toblerone.
Okay. Where did you get that?
It's fucking wild, right?
Like, I know you
Isn't
said
that awesome?
Mpumalanga, but like where?
And it's actually shaped like this. It has a completely flat base. It's fucking cool. Like, I think that's just shows you think you've seen everything, and then you see something like this, and that's Pretty amazing. I mean, that's almost an equilateral triangle, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, when people tell you they've seen a square on Mars or they've seen a face on Mars, like, I'm sorry, just go to Mpumalanga, guys. You'll find plenty of things that look like it could have been made only by men. This is natural. This is totally natural. No one's filed or sanded or touched this, and it looks pretty damn good if you ask me. So there we go.
Oh,
All right, interesting
I'm
stuff.
impressed.
Well, to some of us. Let's talk about something that is interesting and also very painful. Sims, we know about the petrol price going up because government needs to exact more of our cash out of our pockets at gunpoint. All tax is theft. Harmin says not only that, you can't get a straight answer from Google. It always gives me news sources, and then it cuts off, so I can't see the rest of that.
Yeah, but they're trying to change that.
I hope so, because otherwise search engines are also going to become a thing of the past. I've already started asking other applications rather than search engines when I'm looking for something. But to get back to the point, we know petrol's going up because they couldn't get the VAT increase. Now electricity's also going up. So essentially, even though all those parties made such a big fuss, do you remember about taking the government to court over the VAT increase? And then they won, and government had to rescind its policy and start again. Well, all they do, like typical parasites, is they find some other part of the body they can leech onto.
Yeah, I'm actually highly upset about the electricity going up because electricity is a basic need. You know, it's right up there with water. And the fact that like it keeps going up, and that means you're getting less units for the same amount of money that you've been spending, is absolutely ridiculous. Like, you have to constantly top up, and not having electricity is not an option. And I just also personally think they haven't done anything well for us to be getting an increase in electricity. Like, there's no reason why electricity should be going up. And yet it is. And it's not going up by like 1%, 2%, a 12 point something increase. Like, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money that you're going to be spending on electricity and now on petrol, because that's also going up. So everything is in life is going up, except
I feel like I feel like we should almost pick different politicians to run the country. I just got the thought now, so I could be this could be clutching at straws.
Quite revolutionary, Ben.
But guys, maybe that's actually we should get smarter people to run the money. I mean, I'll look into it this weekend.
You know what?
okay.
But I think that could be an idea.
That's a breakthrough thought, Ben, and I wonder if anyone else has even thought of that, because that's quite something.
I mean, you're welcome to share it. As I said, I haven't looked into it properly yet.
Yeah.
But maybe it's what we should think about.
Yeah.
It's almost as if you shouldn't have people in charge of the money who've never made any money themselves in, like, running a little stall or a shop or having had a normal job. It's almost like the people who've never done that should be the ones who are in charge of all the money.
Yeah, that's a good next thought. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
All
I'm also a fan of people like professionals. Like, if you studied finance, you must be the finance minister. Like, it just makes sense. If you're going to be the health minister, you need to be a doctor. Like, that's the basic minimum requirement. Because then you understand when they talk about certain terminology. And like, when I didn't study finance, but there's different budgeting techniques you can use. There's a zero tax budgeting, or people know better than me. But I'm just saying is that those people work in that world and they know all about these things. And instead of just increasing the cost of living for like the everyday South African and the middle class, which is very much diminishing left, right, and center, and we're seeing like unemployment skyrocketing. I think Stats SA came out with like there's been a 74,000 increase in people without jobs.
Wow.
In this first quarter compared to last year. And now you're increasing everything. It's just like, you guys really don't want us to have money. You're not trying to build the economy, because this is not how you build it. This is not how you get people to spend, because all I'm going to do is like, the last 100 rand I have is staying with me instead of spending it. And that's what you want. That's how you build
It's funny.
the economic
it's funny you say that.
growth.
Like, it's funny you say that, Simphiwe, but you know, we were talking about Javier Milei with Argentina's growth at 5.8%. He's an actual economist.
Yeah, you see?
He taught it at university. He studied it for years. He's written books about it. And look at that. You got someone who's actually qualified and professional in something. And look, they're a minister of that thing and then a president. Wow, what miracles. They will never end. Surely these miracles will never cease. It's just incredible. Don't worry, says Dirk. The government will just borrow more money and leave the repayments for the next generation to deal with. Well, that's exactly what's happening. But that's also happening in America, by the way. They are looking at some serious debt problems. And many countries all over the world are just borrowing and borrowing to pay for stuff that they actually can't afford. Now, speaking of borrowing and of trying to treat the symptoms rather than the cause, I put up a thing on Instagram yesterday which got a mixed reaction, and I'm going to test this out on Hanan when we have Dr. Hanan on in a short while on Monday. But I wonder what you think of this, and I'd like to know what Ben and Simphiwe think, and also you can jump in on the comments too, because I'm sure that you have something to say about this too. So I put this up yesterday on Instagram. I said, I'm just going to say it. A lot of you are depressed because you should be. You don't do anything meaningful. You don't believe in anything important, and you add no value to other people's lives. Depression is your prescription, and SSRIs are not going to help you. Now, I know that sounds cruel, but, I was thinking about this with all these people who are claiming to be depressed, and some of them certainly are, and I know that depression's a real thing. We've always taken mental health very seriously on this show, and that's not going to stop. It's one of the reasons we have Dr. Hanan on. But I do think some people are like, I don't know why I'm so depressed. And then if you look at their lives, you actually inspect what they do on a daily basis. They are doing nothing meaningful. They kind of just drones who go to work and do the same thing every day. They don't feel any inspiration. They don't want to overdo the work because they're going to get paid the same anyway, so why work harder? They don't believe in anything. So they don't think, well, if I got myself in shape, I would feel better. And then if I had the right chemicals running around in my brain and I had a body that was not operating at minus 15%, maybe I'd feel better. So they expect a drug to fix this problem for them. And the third thing, like adding value to other people's lives, and we've discussed this with Hanan before, if you are always looking inward, then you will be depressed. There is no difference in the mind and in electroencephalograms. The parts of the brain that light up when they test for depression are the same parts of the brain that light up when you deal with people who are constantly thinking about themselves. In other words, if you're always thinking about yourself, you will be depressed. And if you're depressed, it's probably because you're always thinking of yourself. But this didn't go down terribly well with everybody. I got a message from someone I don't know at all on Instagram after I'd posted this, basically saying, it became very me. I'll try and find it and read it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Because me.
That's the issue.
Yeah, I don't want to misrepresent anyone who's engaging with me on social media, but I did reply to this person, and I said, well, I'm not your psychologist. I'm not here to solve your problem. I'm just saying stuff on the internet, which doesn't make me important enough for you to react like that. This guy was like, oh no, I'm on all these different drugs, and are you saying I deserve to be depressed? And I was like, first of all, I'm not your psychologist. Second of all, I don't know you. Third of all, you may have some other condition added to that, schizophrenia or something else that I don't know about. But it's amazing to me that your replies, as if I was talking only to you, as if I put this message out only to you. You're so self-absorbed that everything's about you. And then this person said something like meow, like I was being catty, which I thought was strange because I didn't direct anything at him particularly, but obviously it struck a nerve. Slippery Pickle says a little magic mushroom in the morning always turns that frown upside down. Yeah, well, okay, Slippery Pickle. Again, we don't prescribe anything except trying to live a healthy, happy life and trying to make a difference for other people. Because that does make you happy, tends to make you feel good. If you're doing things that are healthy, then usually you're a bit better off. Khomotsa says, some do use depression as an excuse. I agree. And by the way, if this doesn't apply to you, then maybe I wasn't talking to you. It's not all about you all the time. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, a hard pill to swallow is the truth, right? And,
Always.
and like even when you were reading that, I was like, "Ooh, okay, that's a tough one." But then you realize that someone needs to say it, right? We need to stop living in a world where it's okay, it's all right. Your feelings are valid. Yeah, your feelings are valid, but your actions are not. And that's the truth of the matter. And people need to be accountable to how they actually show up and the actions that they do. You might be sad, okay, but it doesn't mean you need to be an asshole. Like, you might have had a tough day, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow you don't show up. And I think people use depression as an excuse to kind of be like, I'm depressed, so I'm not going to go to work. I'm depressed, I'm not going to get out of like the bed. I'm depressed.
Not gonna try harder.
Yeah, like, yeah, that's not an excuse anymore. And too many times people get coddled with the, oh, you're depressed? I understand. You know, it's fine. I'll drop everything for you. No, my love, this is the real world. You need to show up.
Well, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions, right?
Yeah.
And I get this. I totally get it. Where people want to be, it's okay not to be okay. I think that's the worst fucking advice and stuff you can tell people nowadays, because it's just saying, you know what, it's fine. Like Jesus take the wheel, whatever you. No, you must take the wheel at all times because you've been given a wheel. That in itself is an absolute blessing because you've actually got the wheel. And it's just people want to be compassionate, but sometimes I think in doing so, they create these other things that become actually more harmful in the long run. And that's always a worry for me.
And tough love is still love, guys. Like, I can tell you that.
Correct.
Tough love is still love. Being told to get up and keep going, it's not nice in the moment. And even if you had to use like a fitness analogy where you are training for a marathon, the first time you're running, it's not nice. The first kilometer is probably the hardest. You're going to be out of breath. You're going to be like, you know, like, why did I eat all those donuts before this run? It's going to be tough. But at the end of the day, you're going to push through it. And when you finish that marathon, it's going to be worth it, right? It's going to be like, I did it. Oh my gosh, if I didn't push through this, I wouldn't be here. And that's the reality with life, is that life is still going to come at you every day, every hour. And you have to push through it. That's it.
You know, you both kind of hit the nail on the head there in different ways. I think that it wasn't meant. The reason I decided to write that is not because I was thinking of anyone in particular, but I walked past somebody in the shop and I heard her saying to her friend, I'm so depressed. And I was like, you know, there are people who are in wheelchairs. There are people who are facing all kinds of financial problems, like trying to pay for school fees and things, and they're desperate. They're really desperate. She didn't seem like she was desperate. She seemed like she was well dressed. She's buying things in a shop, for heaven's sake. It's just a grocery shop, but she's there. And I'm sure that for her it's very real. And I'm sympathetic to that. I really am. I think that there are people who have a very tough time because the chemicals in their head are just not at the right levels. And I get that. That's sometimes beyond your control. But it is amazing to me that people don't understand that sometimes you should be depressed. Like, it is correct for you to be depressed if things in your life are out of control. And what Simphiwe was saying is like this idea that it is your responsibility to fix it. Sometimes the body is telling you something because you need to hear it. If you were happy, you wouldn't hear that you're neglecting this part of your life, or you need to pay attention to these things. It's almost like, no, in order to get you to reorient yourself, we need to make you unhappy and depressed. And that's what we're going to do. So all your nerve cells get together and they go, this is what you need. You need some depression. Do you see what I mean? So it's more like this is appropriate to what you're going through. Depression is the appropriate feeling to have. It's like if you're euphoric and you're excited, that's the appropriate feeling to have sometimes.
Yeah.
But we think that the default should always be happy, which is not right.
Can't be. It physically can't be. That's why, like, toxic positivity, I think, is so detrimental. When
You can do it, Ben.
Fuck off. Not today, I can't, but that's also okay. Like, I often have low days, and I've just got to the stage of maturity now where it's like, that's cool. Today's not my best day, but I'm not going to make it anyone's problem, and tomorrow is going to be better. But also, don't fight it. Like, there's a reason, Gareth. Your point is actually so right. Figure out why you go into those little slumps, and bit by bit, you'll have less of them. Is it getting a dog?
Yeah.
Is it being less of a shit person at work? And that's another thing. It's like, check in with your friends. But what if they're such shits that no one wants to check in with them? That's a reality check in itself. If you're feeling down and no one's checking in with you, maybe because you just offer no value to anyone's life. That's a reality. That's not mental
You just
illness.
reminded me of something
It's a
Bonello
reality.
used to say all the time, which was, everything in life is your fault. And it's not nice to hear, but that's the truth. Everything in life is your fault. And if you're unhappy about it, change it.
You say that, Sims, and that sounds kind of horrible, right? It sounds like super mean to say that to people. But I was having exactly this conversation with someone the other day. It's not necessarily your fault, but start with figuring out what your responsibility is in a situation. So it might be other people, it might be circumstance, it might be the weather, it might be the government, it might be luck, it might be all kinds of things. We all look at our lives and go, how could this be better? Or how is it so unfortunate that I'm the recipient of all this cuck? But start with you and figure out like what your part is in it. And then along the way, if there are other people involved, you can get to them second, third, fourth. But right at the beginning should always be like, what have I done to end up in this situation? How can I remedy it before you start looking for an external locus of responsibility? I think that's probably a healthy way to go about things.
And fair, because it's not complicated. It's just, okay, all this looks like a whole pile of shit. Let's start with me. It's the simplest thing you could ever do. Like, it's the easier start point. It's not like, I need to talk to 7 people to find out what the answer is. No, it's just start you. You live with you. You got your own time. You schedule your own meeting with yourself. Easy.
Well, here's an example of someone who has this. They've managed to discern what the problem is, and they're going to fix it. But it became a problem for a lot of people. So, as a hurdler, hurdles is where you run and then you jump over those things.
Their life is literally an obstacle.
There we go. So this is it. Yeah. This guy's name is Chris Robinson. He overcame a wardrobe malfunction during the 400-meter hurdles at the Ostrava Golden Spike meet, where his shorts exposed him mid-race. Apparently his penis kept constantly falling out of his shorts while he was doing the hurdles.
Big schlong, huh? Yeah.
Big schlong, small shorts.
Is there a video of this?
I'm trying to see the downside of this story, because nobody would have known this guy unless his schlong came out.
Despite repeated attempts to fix the issue while running, Robinson focused on the finish, narrowly winning in 48.05 seconds, just 0.06 seconds ahead of Brazil's Matheus Lima. So this guy's from America. Sorry, America. It was in Ostrava. But this is American Chris Robinson who beat Matheus Lima of Brazil. A great victory for Americans in terms of penis size, but obviously a very embarrassing problem to deal with mid-race. So
I don't buy this guy's story at all. When you're a hurdler and you get to a race, you've run the track a lot. You know what your equipment is. And if you're an elite anything, it's not like, my penis was all over the place today. It's like, you're a professional. You know how to run with a schlong. Like, suddenly you're like, I'm letting this one loose today. And you always trust, this guy's looking for something. Is this a Tinder ad?
Can we see the video? Can we just...
I don't know. Have we got a video, James? Have we got a video of that?
Oh, picture or something. Can we just see?
Oh, shit.
Shucks.
Okay. Wow. Really fell out there, hey? It's a difficult thing to see there, exactly, but
okay.
They do wear those. They do wear those very short shorts when they do things like hurdles. Obviously, you can't have the shorts down to your knees because they'll knock the hurdles.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not his first day. But like, and why is he lying down on his belly? Is that just like?
I don't know.
It's a decent time.
Remember the pole vaulter
hurdles.
in the Olympics? Remember that?
Oh yes, we will not forget him.
Or whatever.
His schlong caught the bar. Yeah.
Seems. I mean, like you would think people were over penises with the amount of fucking porn you get on the internet. You'd think if people were really curious about penises, they could find enough of them, right? And it seems that no, people have not had enough of penises.
No,
And when it comes up,
context is always key here.
when it comes up on sports, and we get to sport next, by the way. So if you've been waiting for that all morning, it's your lucky day. No penises there, as far as I can tell, Ben. But we'll get to that. But it just seems people can't get enough of this. So guys, if you want attention, become a world-renowned super athlete who competes in like the Olympics, and you'll win a medal maybe, but what people will really remember is your penis. So just in case just be a bit humble, because you think you're important to the world because you're the fastest or the strongest or the fittest or the quickest or the cleverest. No, it really just comes down to dicks. That's what will make you famous. All right. Now, let's get to some sport. Ben has already given us a little bit of a preview of the first Bok game, which is happening tomorrow, and everybody needs to get some sleep so they can pay attention to that the whole day tomorrow. Shitty weather forecast for Cape Town, but that's not going to stop people.
It's not, but it is going to stop the game from being the spectacle that you might expect from Barbarians match. Going through history, these games have been very tight to the Barbarians, but a very different context throughout. We've been playing them since the sort of like mid-90s. It's a decent side, but the interesting thing about this Barbarians team is just the names that they have compiled alone. I feel like they have it in for this weekend's commentator. Simphiwe, do you want to run me through number 11 there?
I can't even see that far.
Jacob Ratumaitavuki Kniepkens.
Yeah.
Hey, man.
So that's quite a good one. Lester Fianga Naku. Yeah, it's a very exotically named. No, so because it's the Barbarians, it's a mix of players from around the world. So like the captain there, Peter O'Mahony, he is Irish. We got Ruben van Heerden, who I think is just a rusty plant in the squad to learn things about people. So he's South African. But yeah, you got a whole bunch of people from all over the place. But the names of these people are just absolutely fantastic. Peter Umaga Jensen. Melvin?
Melvin Jaminet. That sounds like it's
Hassan
been made up by ChatGPT.
Hoskin Satutu.
No, guys. Are these people real? Like
Lachlan Boshier. Yeah, it's so it's a decent Barbarians team. I think they'll be competitive. But yeah, look, it's going to be heavy underfoot. Being Cape Town is pissed with rain the whole week, and I think tomorrow itself is also not going to be so great. First Bok team of the year is hugely exciting as well. So it's a pretty strong one. Of course, the Bok team is made up from people from all over the world. So we've got guys coming in from Japan that we haven't seen in a while. So in the back line, you got Kurtley Orange, so we haven't seen him for quite some time. Cheslin Colby, David Allendy, JC Creel. And then, I mean, it's a strong back line. Hey, we've got Morne Krappies van der Berg. He's nicknamed Krappies. We worked that out this week. And then in the forward pack, you got a couple of debutants coming in off the bench and starting. Asanati and Klabakanya, this oak weighed 151 kilograms prior to coming into the Bok camp this season. And Rassie and the forward scrum coach have created a scrum farm somewhere in the Free State, where this oak's been pushing these guys through their paces through homemade like tractors and all kinds of other devices. And he's getting all the props to be super, super strong and in shape.
Sure.
He's making them run hills. They're doing farm labor. It's a thing here. The Springboks are so, you think you've seen it all. You think you've heard it all. It's like every season they come back with something new. So Kamp Daandraad is this big story for the week because now the props are being put through their paces. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow at 5:10. The British and Irish Lions tour really properly kicks off tomorrow. So they played the Pumas, Argentina, last week, and they lost in Dublin. They're playing the Western Force. So that'll be a midday game around sort of 12 o'clock. It's in Perth. It's a pretty good weekend for cricket if you are into that. Currently, the Windies are playing against Australia. A whole bunch of test cricket going on at the moment. Of course, earlier in this week, there was a thrilling clash between India and England. Now, they played the Big Five test series, and England won that at home. They went all the way to day 5. Really, really cool. But tomorrow, Saturday, South Africa starts a 2-test series against Zimbabwe. Now, I know that doesn't sound like much. It's Zimbabwe, but it's a really cool time for sort of like the fringe guys to get a chance. Mm-hmm. Of course, South Africa is the World Test champions of the Test cricket, but they'll only start to defend from like October. They're going to go to Pakistan, then they're going to go to India, more like November, and then they don't play for like another 8 or 9 months. It's a bit weird because we don't play a lot of Test cricket. But this weekend we'll be in Zimbabwe, start of a 2-test series, and a lot of fringe guys are going to come through and get a bit of a chance. So like the major guys who did so well, they're going to get a bit of a breather. Temba Bavuma obviously is injured, so he won't be playing this weekend. But after those 2 tests in Zimbabwe, we then play T20s against them. So if you are a massive cricket fan and you want to see what the next generation of Proteas stars are looking like, you're going to see them on display in Zimbabwe. So that's a pretty exciting thing to get into. Wimbledon starts next week.
Yeah, let's go.
So we get like the sexy tennis back because everyone loves Wimbledon the most out of all the Grand Slams. Everyone wears white. It's on grass. It's a vibe. So this week, outside of the rugby and outside of the cricket, of course, I know the FIFA World Cup is still going on. Sundowns got knocked out, but we weren't going to talk about football for a bit. We're giving it a break.
Did they get knocked out in the group stages?
Yeah.
So they're only walking away with 2 million.
They won one, they drew one, they lost one.
So it's 3.
And that's just not enough to get through. Have me watching. This
And when you told us about that prize money and how it compares with the salaries of people in parastatals, I was pretty impressed.
It's huge. I mean, it's a really cool tournament in many aspects. It's just that there's just too much football. It's in a window where you need to take a break. And I think for like the big teams, it's a bit go through the motiony. But for the smaller teams, not only do they get the chance to make the money, but they get exposed on an international stage, which means they could possibly be bought by bigger clubs. That's all you want, right? As a footballer, all you want is like a rich club to give you more money. You don't want to just sit here with the small anyanas and just sort of kick things around. You want to go play big stuff. You want to go in Europe, and then that makes obviously the big contracts. So, that's also in the background. Of course, there will always be golf in the world, but a big thing this weekend is UFC 317.
Because on the card.
Oh, yes.
Look, the card's not incredible, but the title fights are. Okay, so we got Tapura versus Oliveira. Now, they are fighting for the now vacant lightweight championship because Islam Makhachev was the lightweight champion, but decent enough oak. He said, look, because there's a huge chunk of the year that gets taken by Ramadan, where the guys from Dagestan don't generally fight. The fight that he wanted would then mean he'd be inactive for so long in lightweight that he's decided to relinquish the belt, and he wants to have the title fight against Jack Della Melena in welterweight. So that's his priority. So now Ilia Tapura has come up from bantamweight to be a lightweight, and he'll now take on Oliveira, who's been thereabouts. He was a title holder himself relatively recently. That's going to be an incredible fight. Tapuria is an absolute wrecking ball.
Can I ask you quickly, because I've never actually understood this myself, and I don't want to catch you on the back foot here, but I'm pretty sure you can pull this out of your memory. What are the different weight divisions? Because what is welterweight? What is bantamweight? And I know heavyweight must be towards the bigger side, but that's kind of the only guide I've got.
I'm not so good I'm not entirely sure on the weight. So heavyweight is basically 240 plus, or like 240 to 260. So there is a share cap. Light heavyweight is 205. Sorry, heavyweight's 225 pounds. Light heavyweight's 205 pounds. Middleweight is 185 pounds. And then lightweight, I think lightweight's 155. So this is all like the weigh-in weight. When they actually fight, they're never this weight. But to get a start point, that's what it is. So the lightweight guy is 155 pounds, which is what, 75, 78 kilograms? Welterweight goes up to 175, 160. And then middleweight's 185 that I do know. Strawweight's, Gareth, strawweight's the like the smallest.
The lightest.
Those are the smallest, the lightest guys. And then you get flyweight, and then you get bantamweight. So the other type.
Bantam now?
So bantam is 145 pounds. So that's like the early 70s. So flyweight. So the other title fight on the card there is Alex Pantoja, who is the current champion. He's taking on a guy who's Maori-ish, Kai Kara France. So that's a flyweight fight. So those oaks will be pretty small. but fiery.
By the way, I see that Slippery Pickle reckons if you just don't take a shit before the fight, you could go up a weight division. Is that true?
It's a very small margin. Also depends on your shit, I guess. I don't know what you're packing. I don't know how much fiber is in there to keep it all together. But yeah, look, it's a very hectic thing, and it becomes a massive factor in the sport because that's how people's careers are determined. You know, like you could be really good at weight cuts and you can really get an advantage, or you're really bad at it, or you've got like a lot of muscle.
Oh, here we go.
Like water weight. Yeah, so flyweights. So in the men's UFCs, there isn't actually a straw weight. You'll get that in boxing, but flyweight is where it starts. So 56.7 kilograms. Yeah,
I just wanted to. I didn't expect you to. I'm very impressed, but I didn't expect you to actually recite the number of pounds. What I was getting at is the list. So basically, it goes, as you said, from flyweight, bantamweight, featherweight, lightweight.
Featherweight, so I missed that one.
Welterweight, middleweight, light heavyweight, and then heavyweight.
Yeah, so heavyweight, it's a cap. Like you can go into heavyweight fights, obviously with less weight. All of them you can go less weight, but that's not the idea. But the interesting thing about this is that a single fighter can be many of those things, depending on how they conduct themselves. So to bring it down to home, Dricus du Plessis was a welterweight champion. He used to cut down to 77 kilograms.
Okay.
And he would look like death. And it was like his organs would have shut down if he kept doing that. But he could have done that. I mean, there are people of his frame that cut down. His natural fighting weight is middleweight, but when he's actually a human being, he can easily be a light heavyweight because he'll easily be in the mid-90s.
Sure.
So one guy can generally always span three.
We should have machines in the gyms that tell you this rather than give you a number. They should say, "Oh, congratulations, you are now a heavyweight."
Yeah, I think that's a pretty good thing. Forget about BMIs. Let's all just like revert back to where we'd be in the UFC. So yeah, guys, that's this weekend. We've got two fantastic title fights. The thing about those smaller oaks is that because they're smaller and lighter, the pace of the fights is frenetic. It's crazy. It's like watching car gods on meth. Whereas like with the heavyweights, it's a bit more sluggish. It's a bit more like, oaks are stuck in the mud kind of thing, but they pack the big punch. So the light oaks, there can be lots of volume, lots of like less chance of a knockout. The bigger oaks with the haymakers, lights out. So that'll be American time. So nice and early, 5 a.m. if you really love the UFC. So mostly we're looking at big rugby, box versus the bars, and we're looking at a bit of cricket if you like that on the side. And that is your sporting weekend, basically.
Magic. Thanks, Ben. That's a lot to look forward to. Okay, so there are a bunch of companies that want to chase Truecaller out of South Africa. I don't know if you use Truecaller on your phone. Sims, Ben, do you use it?
It's very useful.
I don't.
Well, I don't answer phone calls unless it's your name. I'm not answering because it is some prick who wants to.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That's quite a good rule, actually. But there are lots of South African businesses who are urging the information regulator. You must know when businesses go to the regulator, that means they're doing something scurrilous, usually. When businesses all band together and they go, we're going to go and speak to the regulator, you know that's like the kid on the playground who, instead of like following the rules and you've played a game and he's lost, then he says, I'm going to go and tell the headmaster. That's what they you're already suspicious. Anyway, they went to the information regulator to investigate Truecaller, accusing it of harming their operations by flagging numbers as spam and charging high fees for whitelisting, up to 590 Rand a month for 5,000 calls. Legal experts also argue the app may violate South Africa. Oh, don't get the lawyers involved. They'll find some way to make money out of you and for you to end up paying a huge amount to someone else to get it sorted. That's what lawyers are there for. They're there to break rules and find ways to make it sound like it's legal. While Truecaller denies wrongdoing and says users control contact sharing, critics claim it amounts to data exploitation. The broader issue, however, is that rising spam has already eroded public trust in voice calls. Hence Ben and many other people saying, I don't answer unknown numbers. Let me tell you, out of all the calls I get that aren't from a number that I already have on my phone, out of all of those, I would say 80 to 90% of them are spam. It's people, we want to sell you insurance, or have you heard of this product, or we want to reward you from blah, blah, blah financial services. And I go, I'm not with financial services, blah, 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 that you just mentioned. And they go, oh, no, but we would love to send you a free gift or whatever. You've heard these ones, right? And then they're the ones who call you, we're from Easy Debt Solutions or something. And you're like, I don't need you. I don't want to talk to you. Thank you very much. Don't call me. And believe it or not, they call the next week again. So someone is giving out our numbers, and that is clearly a breach of POPI, right? Otherwise, why do we have the Protection of Personal Information Act? If people have your phone number, people have access to financial information about you, perhaps, and they call you the whole time. Surely that's the infringement, not Truecaller? I think that these businesses that cold call people ought to be ashamed of themselves. They are taking up valuable time. They always call when you're busy with something. You're in a meeting, you're driving the car, something's happening, and you get a call from an unknown number, and that's when they get you. Now, I jokingly said, because I went to an event on Wednesday with some friends of ours, and I said to the people that you can sometimes answer and go, "What are you wearing?" or you play like animals attacking you and screaming and that kind of noise, and then you scream and you say, "Oh my God, call the police, call it." Then they'll never call you again. But that's only if you've got the time to actually work that out. Most of it is just really, really fucking annoying.
So I have this like kind of double-edged sword on that, right? These people are phoning you. It's invasive. It's shit. But the person on the other side of the line is trying to make however money to go and feed their family. They need a job. Sure. So it's not their fault, okay? Sure. I totally get that. But at the same time, it is invasive and it's annoying. So I would love to do those kind of things, like become inappropriate and start saying, "So, what are you wearing?" Like,
no.
But like because it's like I might as well get something out of this, right? Whatever they try to push you, I don't want. So then I'm thinking, is there humor? Is there a chance of being funny around this? And then I think, no, but that person's not in on the joke here. It's all about you.
No, because isn't the issue with like those type of calls is that the longer they are on the call, the I think on their system it's going to reflect like, oh, you were on a call for like 3 minutes or whatnot. Why didn't you clinch a sale? Which is problematic. As opposed to you saying not interested within the first 30 seconds, and then they can see that that was a.
Yeah, but I'm just tired of having to do that all the time. So the way my brain works is that I want to have fun with this now.
I'm going to make it a problem for somebody else.
Carl DeSantos has a potential solution here. He's created a contact on his phone for this. He says every time he gets a spam call, he adds that number to the contact so that I don't answer it. So you could create like asshole as a contact on your phone, right? And then you could put every time any number calls that is not a number you want, then you add it to that contact, and then he shares it with his friends so everyone can avoid them. I think that's fantastic. Carl, you know what, Carl? You've just made my morning. I'm going to start adding those numbers. I'm going to create a contact right now. Fucking asshole. Okay, here we go. And I'm going to add every time anyone calls me. There we go. Fucking asshole. Surname? Asshole. Okay, and then I'm just going to add this to everyone who calls me. There you go. Look. See? Fucking asshole.
Yeah. See, I want to fight things I don't like. So the fact that these calls keep coming, I want to fight them, but you can't fight them because you're fighting against thunder here. They're endless. They'll never go away.
That's true.
Yonda says these cold calling people are getting out of hand. I was away in Egypt last week and my network didn't work as it was jammed and I had peace. I landed and literally had five minutes after my phone switched on, there was spam. See, this is the kind of stuff I'm talking about. And they don't realize I don't know how many people have actually got business out of cold calling. Like, I don't think it works anymore. It might have worked once. And I know there are these farms of people who sit there at the phone. And Ben, you're right. These people are just being paid to phone people. They're trying to earn a living. They probably hate their jobs. I can't imagine a worse job than that. But I don't know if any business actually ensues. It must still be working. There must still be people who answer it and go, yes, tell me about your product. Otherwise, they would have stopped, surely.
Especially with the internet being what it is. If I need anything in this world, it's not hard for me to get information and get whatever I need.
Yeah.
I will do that. It's not hard. Someone phones me out of the blue and I go, shit, I never thought of this. Wow, you sell insurance? There was always this nagging sensation that someone could cover me financially for like an accident or loss of income. Wow, and here you are. This is destiny. Let's actually meet up. Drop the phone right now. Meet me here. Let's go for lunch.
That's true. Yeah.
Okay, I'm just adding some numbers to fucking asshole here, actually.
Oh, you
How
right
many
at work
numbers
with
can-
it.
How many numbers can you add to one contact, though?
Quite a few. I'll tell you once you've
Okay.
reached your limit, but
Guys,
quite a
just-
few.
Then you just open up-
Just don't answer
Then
numbers.
you
that-
open up fucking asshole 2 and 3 and 4, and you keep going, right?
You're making so much work, which is fine if you're Carl and you got no friends. But Gareth, this is way too much work. Just don't
know, Ben.
answer
I just
numbers
really
whose
wanna
number
see
you don't
that come
know.
up on my phone. I want to see that name come up on my phone and know I can avoid it. That's kind of what I want. And I do
You know,
think
people are gonna
since the-
side eye you and like it rings.
Yeah. I don't care about that.
Yeah, well, then also just
The
get
whole reason
Truecaller
the
because then it
story
just
came-
tells you your screen goes red and it's like, it's bad.
Yeah. I think Truecaller is terrific, and I have it on my phone. I use it. It works pretty well. I think these businesses that are trying to take Truecaller to the regulator are the problem. We should know who those businesses are, and they should be on the skids. They should all run out of work. They should all run out of business. Those people who work for them must go and find other work where the people won't hate them, and everyone will be happier. They should shut down. That's what I think.
Okay.
I think that's fair.
All right,
That's not even
yeah.
controversial.
See, there we go. So we're all agreed. We can move on.
Yes.
Guys,
Okay,
we all
so
just need
something
to
else that I
respect
wanted
each
to-
other more in life. I don't need your phone call. Respect me. I'm trying to do my own thing. I've got my own challenges. I'm also like
how about some-
unless you know, it'd
some
actually be
good
kind of funny.
manners.
It's like if they
Good
all started out in
manners.
like, this is Mental Health Awareness
Oh my
Week. I'm
gosh.
checking in with you, but also, do you have a funeral policy?
As part of your mental to make sure you're all good.
Just checking in
Do you
with
have a
you.
funeral?
It's okay to not be okay. It's not okay not to have insurance.
Simphiwe, I've found a game show that I think we must revive. This was apparently a real game show in Britain in the 80s.
Okay.
There's a woman, and it's called Find Your Baby and Win a New Car. So what they do is they have like I suppose it's almost like a pool. There it is. You can see it. Like an inflatable pool or a lattice pool or something. And
Are those
inside you
real
got all the-
babies?
That's AI.
They're real babies, and she has to find her baby. In the
I'm
and then she
keen.
wins. She wins that beautiful Toyota Corolla or Cressida or something.
It's a sporty car for back then.
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I think so. And she has to find her baby, and that's Mary, obviously, in the middle, and then win a new car. So I thought
Find
that
your
could be a fun
baby.
game we could relaunch. What do you think?
I'm for it. I'm for it.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna say no to a free car, some money. Like, tell me what the price is, and I'm definitely there. I'm definitely doing it. Like, that's such a vibe. Like, the 80s were unhinged. Hey, there's
Yeah,
a
they
deco show that
seriously
I've been
were.
seeing. How like these ladies were decorating ladies' houses or redecorating people's houses on a
I
budget.
think I've seen the same one.
And then they're like,
Is
"Oh,
that-
you need
is
a
that
carpet,"
those
but
two-
and they
those two
paint.
white ladies?
They paint like the carpet because they're redecorating your room and it's all bright. And they're like, for $5, we painted a carpet instead of just buying a carpet. Like, and it's like the border is like red and then inside it's green. And the 80s are unhinged, like completely unhinged.
So I agree. I would like to have the 80s back sometimes. Ben and I both follow an account called 80s Television something.
Yeah. The screens, the new screens and things. It was a
And they've
very
always
simple
got
time.
like Tom Plumber or has a moustache. Deborah has a moustache. It's really good.
Yeah, because like in the 80s as well, like because there wasn't internet, you had to go connect the dots for people.
Yes.
So like news networks and reporters, they were on everything. Like breaking news, like someone's there. Like, 'cause otherwise, you'll never know.
This is,
time.
There was
this
only
is
like
quite-
one camera in
quite
the
a
whole
fun
town.
thing. I don't know if you saw this, but there's an actual headline in Canada. We always think that, you know, Eskom is our misery and it's the reason that we never have electricity. But even in places like Canada, this is the Vancouver News reporting a single beaver caused mass internet and cell service outages in northern BC. But I love the comment that was posted just above that, because it's single beaver. Someone says, I fail to see how his relationship status is of any relevance.
Like, reading is an art, guys.
And then I don't know if you saw this, but we always joke about how, you know, there's fake news and South Africa's got a lot of fake news publications. Well, News 24 did a survey and then found themselves to be the most trusted news service. So they published on their site that they are the most trusted news service. And
that's not
that
sketchy at
means they
all.
are. No.
But
according to... You go on.
Sorry, but what if they are, because everyone else is just so shit? That's also an aspect here that I find quite funny. Well, the bar is so low, right?
They got an 81% rating from their own, I think from their own, it's Reuters Institute of Digital News. So, I mean, these guys are all in cahoots. You don't know who to believe.
Sure.
But the worst ranked one was the Daily Sun, which I take exception to. That's
agree.
That's the only paper I read, Simphiwe.
You're reading about, this is why you got ChatGPT to generate a tokolosh, because you're busy reading Daily Sun. That's Daily Sun. Daily Sun is only good for those type of stories. Like the headline would be something crazy about like how millions went missing because this guy was doing something mischievous and a snake was found
Simphiwe,
under the bed. And it's like, wait, what?
No.
That's the headline.
Why do you think I'm always on top of stories about Gogo Maweni and Gogo Skoteni? Because I read the Daily Sun. That's where I get my information. Come on.
No.
There they are.
No, you
Look at
can't
that. News 24 ranks itself as the most trustworthy. Anyway, I mean, look how bad it is for Eyewitness News. They're down at 57%. IOL, which is run by Iqbal Serve, that's at 56%. I mean, Eyewitness News is only 1% better than that. That's terrible. Daily Maverick down at 63.
It's 2% better than Daily Sun. Like, if you are the editor of that place,
what do you mean? Like, what do you mean? What do you mean when you want by 2% over Daily guys? Yeah, I should.
That's so true. All right, and then I
Daily
want you
Sun's
to watch
over
this.
50%. That's over a pass mark.
No, it's ludicrous. I want you to watch this. We've got some very talented people at the Real Network, and Tian has been working on generating like AI advertisements for brands, which are unbelievable. But he showed me this video of like a guy walking through a forest, and I said to him, "Nah, that's kind of boring. Can you go back and do it again? But this time I want you to put a zombie in." And then he did. Have you got the zombie video, James, to show everybody? I mean, he did this in like seconds. Just watch this. Incredible.
That has killed. Okay.
Now, I don't know about you, but I think that's pretty wild, right? I mean,
Is
there are no actors.
that AI, or is that someone arriving with a chocolate at the actual Real Network studios?
No, it's AI.
I couldn't see the difference, personally.
I mean, there are no actors involved. We didn't have to hire a studio for it. We didn't have to put in fancy lighting. We didn't have to go to a forest and set this up, buy stock footage. We didn't have to make up and dress actors in zombie outfits. I mean, that's all just AI, which is unbelievable. I've got very exciting news on that front. We are going to launch a new season of Blind History in July, I think. No, August. We'll do the first. We'll do the first episode in July, so we'll probably launch it in August. Very excited about that. A new season of Blind History with me and Anthony Medera, as you've always had it before. And if you haven't heard of Blind History before, you need to go and look at those episodes. You can find them on whatever podcast service you use. They're all over the place, and we're gonna see if we can't do video with it like that. I think it'll be quite fucking cool.
Well, you're noticing now another thing with AI and the trends is that they're reenacting parts of the Bible. So it'll be like,
Yes.
Oh yeah,
they're all over social media now.
Yes. It's so cool to see. And they do it like vlog style as
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
They'll do the whole like subscribe, like I love it. I think that one's dope.
yeah, that is pretty cool. So there's a lot to look forward to. AI is changing everything. Some not for the better, and some for the better.
But
And I hope
did
have a
you
good
notice?
weekend.
Sorry,
Yeah, go
I'm
on.
going to very critical eye to this kind of stuff. But you notice the guy with the backpack in the forest, how he was running? He was running like he didn't want his penis to fall out of his pants. Those were very measured
Right.
strides.
Yeah. Yeah. That's where they've still. So there's obviously still quite a lot they have to do to get it exactly right. But I'm amazed that took Tian like a couple of minutes, and he generated that. He knows what prompts to put in. Did a bit of editing, but not a lot. And you kind of need an old skill set that knows what it's doing in terms of editing.
Is Tion an
But
old
you
skill
also
set?
need a new skill set.
He's human.
No,
What do
you know what I
mean?
mean. It's like
Yeah, I know what you mean.
it's like a mixture of the skills that a traditional producer and editor would have used, mixed with the new skills that he's learned of being able to put the right prompts in, use the right image generator, make sure you get the right quality. And he talked about like how, for example, there are different filters and grades that you have to put over it. That's the kind of thing that you honestly need to know your stuff for. So it's not as if anyone and everyone can do this, but it's incredible to see. All right, we got to wrap it up. Thank you very much.
Wait, one more
for
thing,
joining us
Gareth.
this
One
morning.
more thing.
Oh yeah.
One more thing. There's a video. There's a guy on TikTok, right? And he basically does these videos where he turns bad Tinder conversations into
Oh
songs.
shit! Yes.
And there's one
yeah.
song that has got the internet in a rattle. People have fallen in love with it. I think it's a great way to like start your weekend, like Tinder songs. And yeah, so James, play
I
the
love
video.
it. All right.
Do
So
your
we'll
thing.
wrap it up with that. That sounds
Yes.
amazing. Because
Yes.
we often, yeah. No, it does. It sounds very cool. So I'm looking forward to that. And I did promise that we would play it just before 7. So here we go. We'll get to that in a second. James, Flex, thanks for taking care of things in the studio. We will see you on Monday morning at 6 a.m. bright and early. Ciao, everybody.
Bye. You guys can play the.
Where's the Tinder
thing.
song?
Like, no, the Tinder song.
Tinder song.
Oh, James. Oh. My Tinder song.